Being a brain aneurysm survivor is something I never thought I would ever face. It was like learning how to walk again, how to eat again, how to relate to other people again, how to relate to yourself. I survived a 10-millimeter brain aneurysm that ruptured post-surgery, and also a 2-millimeter non-ruptured brain aneurysm and several TIAs over the last 20 years. A lot of times when you're a survivor, especially in the beginning, you feel alone and you don't know exactly where you're going or how to get there. When I was 28 years old, I was at my office and I had a headache that caused some severe confusion. I had what I thought was a TIA, a trans-ischemic attack. So it's like kind of like a mini stroke. Those happened periodically to me for the last 10 years. And I was taken to the ER and they did a scan and said it was just a migraine and everything was fine and gave me some pain medication. The same thing happened again in March, and then again in July, again in August. And then after August, I was in pain every single day on a raging scale. Some days it was like a 15 or a 20, and other days it was like a 7 or an 8. I went and saw several doctors, several different ERs. I was going down the same road the doctors were going down. I ended up with it's an anxiety diagnosis. And then later that month, I ended up with it's your age diagnosis. Neck pain and the back pain and the head pain were all because my migraines were changing. And maybe you need to get a new pillow, you're stressed, here's some Valium. There were a bunch of Band-Aids given to me by a bunch of different doctors, but never a secure diagnosis. In my personal life, while all of this was going on, my husband was a fireman and he worked 24-hour shifts. And I was so afraid that my son was going to wake up in the morning and I was going to be dead and he was going to be alone in the house. My weak aneurysm, instead of rupturing as it grew another weak point on top of it. So I was extremely lucky that my anatomy processed it that way. And I was also extremely lucky that my body would leak and then clot on its own. They took me from ICU to a regular room. I continued to pivot downward. They told me it was anxiety. They told me that it was normal to be in pain after a brain surgery. They told me that I needed to just calm down and it was healing and it was going to be fine. They assumed that I had a brain fluid leak. The next day, physical therapy comes and they say, we need you to walk. And I said, I can't walk, I hurt. They came back later that afternoon and they told me I had to walk and I didn't have a choice. So I walked, and I walked like Igor because I hurt so bad. The doctor comes in and tells me I'm gonna go home. I asked them not to send me home. I begged for them not to send me home. Please don't send me home. I was home for 22 hours. I didn't eat. I barely talked. I didn't take a shower. I didn't brush my teeth. I didn't change my clothes. I laid in bed. I slowly drifted between life and death. When I got back to the hospital, they did a CT, and the CT showed blood, air, and fluid on my brain. It showed that my brain had shifted from center line by about 8 millimeters. The doctors wheeled me out and told my caregiver that I had 45 minutes. I was in the last 45 minutes of my life. So they rushed me back to surgery. They relieved the pressure and the fluids and the air and the blood off of my brain. I woke up in ICU and I couldn't communicate. I didn't know my name. I didn't know who the people were in my room. They said that I was in vasospasm. And I remember asking him why. that magical question, why? And he looked at me and he said, I don't know why, but we're going to do the best we can to fix it. Verapamil relieved the spasming, thankfully, which allowed me to speak again. Then I went into the pulmonary edema because of all the fluid that they had injected me with. So that night I ended up having to have Lasix and be put, rest and a CPAP. And then once that was done, there were no further major complications. Then my healing journey began. If the awareness of brain aneurysms was as popular as breast cancer, I would have never second guessed a brain aneurysm diagnosis. I would have been able to go to my doctors and say, this is what I think we're dealing with. Can we get this specific scan? Brain aneurysms are real, and they hurt and they kill. Somehow, some way, they need to be discovered a lot more easily. I learned to listen to me. I learned to listen to my body. I've just found the more you advocate for yourself, the better relationship you have with your medical team as time goes on. The biggest takeaway from this is strength. I can stand on my own 2 feet. I can advocate for myself. I can advocate for my loved ones better now. I can share my story with other people and help them and hopefully send them on a journey of hope.